Yo, this is Steve Bloom, and you're watching Moana Nui Podcast. We'll be starting soon. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Veronica Taylor, and from myself and Ash Ketchum, I just want to say, Moana Nui, I choose you!
Aloha, everybody. Welcome to the Moana Nui Podcast. As you all know, my name is Moana, and it is good to be back here on the show after a couple weeks of vacation. Thank you so much to Dana and the rest of the Moana Nui family for carrying the torch as I took some much needed vacation back home in Hawaii. So I'm back after a little bit of some mini adventures on the way back. Yesterday, I got stuck in Vegas overnight for a canceled flight. Didn't lose a lot of money because I didn't bet in the first place, but there are worse places to be stuck. Vegas is a great place, actually. To be lots of options, cheap hotels, and things to keep you busy when you're stuck for an entire day. But I'm back, and I'm excited to be back for tonight's show. Time seems to really creep on us, really. I wouldn't say creep because it goes quickly, but tonight's show is actually a really special one. We are celebrating the 1 year already. That means this is your 12th episode of Rain Talks. And for those of you who have not yet joined, and this is your first time joining us for Rain Talks, I absolutely love this segment. We have partnered with Shae Reigns, who is a licensed therapist. And she comes onto our show monthly, the fourth Thursday of every month, right now, 7 p.m. EST, to talk with us about mental health and how that is important within our communities. What's up, J-Man? And what's up, Ryan? Good to see you guys. Thank you all so much for joining our 1 year celebration. Yes. I was just talking to Dana earlier today. I'm like, I was counting the episodes, like, whoa, we're at our anniversary already. So, let me bring on our partner, my friend, my confidant, the woman who gives me some mental peace, or at least tries. We struggle together. So I'm going to bring her on. Let us welcome once again for the 12th time and our 1 year anniversary, Miss Shae Reigns. Welcome, sis.
Hey, wow. I had no idea.
I know. It's so crazy. I love it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I am doing well. I have been looking forward to this episode. I had no idea that it was the 1 year episode.
Right.
I was just looking forward to talking to everybody.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Happy anniversary, homie.
Yes.
Wow.
Happy anniversary to us. Happy anniversary to our community.
Yes.
Not everybody is willing to talk about mental health and to do it so consistently and have a show that's dedicated to it. I'm really excited and proud to bring this resource to all of our friends and family. So thanks so much for helping us do that.
It is my passion.
Yes.
Apparently it's my thing. It's my jam.
It is your thing.
Someone once said, or not said, but someone asked me the other day. They're like, so therapy's your jam, huh? I'm like, yeah. Yes, that's my jam.
Yes.
So this month, I guess we've been doing this barely for a year, and it occurred to me when we were talking last month that I never really like I've touched on it, but I've never really said, hey, since every time you take a breath is a great time for therapy, here's how you choose your therapist.
Yes. Yes.
And so I really wanted to have this conversation because apparently people are out here thinking it's a one size fits all, or
Right.
you know, that it's some kind of a magic trick. It's
Mhm.
like, ta-da, mental health.
Right. Right.
And it is not. So actually, I think close to last year when I first started with you guys, I did a post inspired by one of my clients, explaining what therapy is and explaining how I see myself as a therapist. And I think we also talked about it then. I call myself, for all you anime fans out there, the full mental alchemist.
Yes.
Okay. So you give me all of the, you know, things, right? You give me the portions of yourself that you think you want me to work with. And then I give it back to you as something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Mental alchemy, right?
Yeah.
Not magic. It is a science and an art form. Okay. The human mind is complex and experiences from one person to the next completely different.
JD. You
Every,
can always count on JD.
every month. You didn't get me this time though. Yeah. I'm sure the escorts are definitely out there trying to support your feelings.
You already know this.
But yeah, no, so number one, you want someone who you can talk to. Like I said, it's not a one size fits all kind of a situation. The therapeutic alliance is fragile and important. And I'll tell you the same way how I tell all of my clients. You are not broken, and I am not a fixer. There's nothing there for me to quote unquote fix. Okay. Like I said, you give me these different elements of yourself. You give me your memories. You give me fragments of feelings, and then I help you create what it is that you tell me you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And notice I'm saying I help you create what you tell me, right? I give you the tools so that you can turn this set of circumstances into what you are actually looking to work with. Okay. And that's how I see myself. Now, I can't say that all of us see ourselves in the same way. But in general, I would say I feel like I can speak with relative accuracy and certainty that none of us consider ourselves fixers. And we certainly don't consider ourselves magicians. So if you walk into your session expecting us to fix you or to make everything better, then you are going to be sorely disappointed. I shout out to everybody in my life who has told me about all of their therapeutic horror stories. Okay. Because that's another portion of where this talk comes from. Burnout is real. Okay. We get burnt out as therapists. And so I'm going to, of course, also apologize on behalf of some of my burnt out compadres. However, if your therapist is already burnt out, which you will be able to tell by their absolute lack of interest in whatever it is that you're saying. And you can tell, okay? That's not the therapist for you. And it's not necessarily that there's anything wrong with them or anything wrong with you. It's just that's not the one for you. It's like trying to buy a shoe that's 2 sizes too small or 5 sizes too big. Either way, you're not going to walk in them. So that's number one, right? You want someone who actually fits you, someone who's actually interested in your story, someone whose style actually matches what you are looking for, so to speak, or what you think you're looking for. I had past tense a client once upon a time who I started out with, and she said, yeah, I really want a therapist who has kids and has been married for a really long time. And I said, okay, I'm not the one for you. I've been legally married for quite a while, but I have no children. And so I told the supervisor, hey, we should probably find her someone else, someone who's going to match a little bit better. And at first they were like, okay, we'll look for someone else, but I guess they couldn't find her anyone else. And so she was like, okay, I guess I'll try her, right? We had 2 sessions. The first session, she barely said anything. The second session, she said a few things. And then after that, she stopped responding. A month later, she took another session. And then after that, she stopped responding. Because I didn't match. She had already made up in her mind that I wasn't going to be able to help her because I don't have children. Now, does it actually mean that there was no way for me to help her? No. But it doesn't matter if I think I can help her. If she doesn't think that I can help, it doesn't matter. So stand your ground, know what it is that you're looking for, know who it is that you feel like you'll be able to talk to about your stuff, and go for that. Your first session should kind of be like an interview, right?
Yeah.
They should tell you who they are, what their expectations are, and so forth. And you should be able to tell them what you're about and what your expectations are and what you're looking for. And if those things don't match up and the person you're sitting in front of doesn't seem to be interested in referring you to someone else, then refer yourself, aka fire that person. Because it's not going to work. Now, unless by the end of the session you feel like, okay, they don't check off all the boxes, but for some reason I'm comfortable, then yes, absolutely go with it. But make sure that in that interview section of your relationship, so to speak, of your alliance building, that it actually matches the kind of situation that you're looking for. Ask them about what their therapeutic style is. What treatment method they use, right? If they say, oh, I use a lot of positivity and homeopathic whatever and so forth and so on, and you're more of a hard science facts kind of person, those two things, that method and your natural state of being, aren't gonna mesh well. Or if you're the homeopathic, meditated out, deep breathing kind of person, and they're we're going to do CBT and so forth and so on, and very inflexible, then it's just not going to match. Not that CBT is all inflexible. CBT is actually very, very flexible. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the staples of good treatment. Just throw that out there. But how they deliver that, how the person chooses to deliver that is going to matter. The next thing that I definitely want to strongly suggest is so the therapeutic alliance or the relationship with your therapy is supposed to be a one-way exchange. Okay. Your therapist is not your friend. Your therapist should not be your friend. That's what you have friends for. Okay. Yeah. Had to read that twice because the second part came on the same line. Listen, I'm sure that aliens are great, not people. So I think it's important to understand that it's a one-way thing. So if your therapist seems to be taking your treatment personally, and I don't mean if they seem to care, because you probably want a therapist who actually cares about your mental health, right? But what I mean like is you're sitting there and you are, or they are rather, oversharing, where the session seems to be more about their mental health than yours. That is not the therapist for you. That might be a great friend for you, but that is not the right therapist for you. In my therapeutic alliances, I of course use some of my own personal stories to help make connections based on who that client is. So I'll share parts of my journey, for example, especially when it comes to my professional journey, as it affects my clients. Like when I was moving here to Tennessee from Atlanta, and so I shared that part of the journey. But do I sit here and do I complain about, oh my God, work is so hard? Absolutely not. Do I talk about the commute? No. Do I talk about I don't know, things that I would talk about with my friends? Not unless it actually has therapeutic value to them. If I believe that sharing this particular story is going to matter to helping them visualize or conceptualize whatever it is that they're experiencing, then my life is irrelevant, because your time in session is your time. Yes, most therapists see therapists, and most therapists should see therapists. If your therapist does not at the very least have a colleague who they share with, to help them work through some of the things that happen, especially in session, you're going to deal with a therapist who gets burnt out a crap ton faster than those who do. As a licensed therapist, on my end, I have to have what they call supervision. So I have to have someone who I speak with on a regular basis to, we'll say, unload, and to make sure that I confer with, and to make sure that I review some of my client load with, to make sure I'm not having transference issues, to make sure that whatever method I'm using, or not even necessarily to make sure, but to keep me on track with my own professional goals or my own treatment style, or introducing me to maybe other ways to provide the service. At the very least, it is a good idea for your therapist to have someone who they talk to, even if they're not necessarily actively seeing a therapist, which most of us are. Even if they're not, yes, the answer is definitely yes. Which brings us back to the therapeutic alliance being a one-way street, because your therapist should not be using you for their therapy. Okay. Although, like, I fully admit to my clients, I want to say 2 weeks ago, that my providing therapy is extremely rewarding for me. It is technically a part of my healing process, being able to help other people. Absolutely. And the reason why I disclosed that is because I was explaining that by and large, most human beings, actually, let me not even lie, all human beings are largely self-absorbed and selfish. We generally don't do anything unless there's some benefit in it for ourselves. So I disclose even in this service, even in my providing the service, I too am selfish because I get stuff out of being in this industry. Immediate gratification. I have no need for drugs or intoxicants because my high comes from helping people. Kind of a benefit like that. So just since we're asking and answering questions, any other questions there, JD? I see you trying to catch me. Keep going. The next point that I definitely also wanted to make was if you feel the need to lie to your therapist, that is not the therapist for you. Whether it's a lie to save their feelings or a lie because you're ashamed of whatever it is you did or because you're embarrassed or whatever the case may be, and you want to lie to the therapist who's supposed to be helping you cope with that, that's not the right therapist for you. Your therapist, you and your therapist should have the most open, honest relationship that you have ever had in anywhere in your life. So if you, and this I explained to one of my clients once, because they were having some issues telling me about the cocaine that they did. And so I was explaining, listen, if you were out last night and decided to snort 2 kilos of cocaine off of a hooker's ass crack, I want to hear about it. Let's talk about that. Because last time I checked, what you said was you don't enjoy that. Yes. Yes, you should. Unless it's the truth. But you should also know that more often than not, if your therapist is good at what they do, they know you're lying. Right. It actually was a very funny story, but not one that I will share. But no, if your therapist is actually any good at what they do, they will know that you're lying. And depending on the situation, depending on where you are in your therapeutic alliance, your therapist may or may not call you on it. If it seems like, for example, the lie is because they are trying to protect themselves from something, we may say, okay, we'll revisit that idea. You know, it'll be maybe just something that they make a mental note of in terms of recognizing, okay, so this is a subject that they are not ready to share yet. You know, because you don't have to be willing and ready to share everything in your, first or second or third session, because you're still building the alliance, right? But at the very least, move that a little bit. At the very least, you should feel comfortable enough with your therapist to say, I'm not ready to discuss that. And if you aren't sure that you're ready to discuss that, what actually often happens is, and I'll describe it, and you might recognize that even in your regular conversations that you do this, when you come across a subject or a topic that you're not necessarily comfortable talking with at that time, there'll be a long, quiet pause. And there'll be a moment where there's no eye contact. You'll either consciously look away or you will subconsciously change the subject altogether. But there will always be that before you move on, because you are making that moment or taking that moment to decide and to check with yourself whether subconsciously or consciously, if this is something that you are ready to talk about at that moment. That's pretty much every time I get to a subject that they're not ready for, there's that pause and breaking eye contact. Whether we're in person or we're on Zoom, that is how it goes. Pause, breaking eye contact. Or sometimes magically, oh, I dropped my phone. You're on Zoom. Magically, there will be something else that just so happens to happen. And then we won't come back to the subject. And it's okay. It's you don't have to be comfortable talking about everything at every moment. But if you are in therapy or doing these sessions for the purpose of helping yourself, understand that lying isn't actually helping you. The only person that you're actually serving is the therapist's bank account. Because you're not technically even helping the therapist do their job. You're just letting the therapist get paid to spend that time while you spin your wheels. So at the very least, if you come to a subject that you're not comfortable being openly honest about, let it be known that's not something I'm comfortable with yet. That way, the therapist can also participate in changing the subject. If a therapist tries to force you to talk about something that you're not ready to talk about, that is also a red flag. Now, there's a caveat to this. There is a specific modality in therapy that kind of requires us to push you into having conversations that you think you're not ready to have. But even in that, it requires that we will have already built the therapeutic alliance so that we have the, we'll say, consent to push that. If your mom is a therapist, that's a whole different situation. I think those are the major points. Don't lie to your therapist. And choosing your therapist should be based on also what you need and not just what they need. There's a timer. Sorry. I was looking at the screen like, where's my timer? Okay. We'll talk pretty consistently for a good 30 minutes.
Yeah, I hear some kind of ticking. I'm like, is there something going on? No, those are all really good points, especially, because at least I feel that in order to be open with someone, you have to trust them. And like a therapist, as you mentioned, is like someone who you have to be not just honest with them, but you have to be honest with yourself too, right? And so I think that's probably why a lot of people don't seek out therapy, in that, like, I mean, let's be honest, there's probably people who are close to you in your life that you're not telling them everything about it, like you're just not. You selectively, you tell pieces of yourself to different people, based on the level of safety that you feel on that certain topic. But there is probably no one person that you say everything to. And it requires you to feel vulnerable, put yourself in like this weird position where it can be easy to feel judged. I mean, maybe if your therapist is judging you, again, it's not the right one for you, right? Because they're supposed to be helping you to get through those things. But I can see, that just that kind of trust factor being a huge obstacle for folks who, up to this point have not sought out therapy. What would you say to like people, like, to help them overcome that?
Did you wake up this morning? No.
Go back to the mantra.
Actually, can I switch up your question a little bit?
Yeah.
You said for those who have not sought out therapy yet. I want to also specifically talk to those who have. I've spoken to so many different people, like I said, who've had really horrible experiences with therapists.
Mhm.
And that's horrible experiences with therapists as adults and horrible experiences with therapists as children. A lot of people were forced to go see a therapist or a counselor of some sort when they were still kids.
Mm.
And because that particular adult did not create or foster a safe environment,
Yeah.
they were never comfortable actually discussing that. Because they were forced into the therapeutic situation, they never actually got to allow themselves to feel comfortable in it, especially depending on what age you are. When you're a teenager, that is the time. Like, if ever there is a time where you're going to be rebellious and unwilling to whatever, between the ages of 12 and 25, between the ages of 12 and 25, I know that's a huge gap, but yeah, between the ages of 12 and 25, those are the ages where you are just like, I'm not doing what you tell me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Defiance is a part of that. And so if you are being forced or feel like you're being forced to do something, the experience isn't going to help you until you feel like you're actually making that choice yourself. So even in that case, it's not necessarily that you had the wrong therapist. It's that it was the wrong time.
Right.
Okay. So to the original question of, to those who haven't yet, it's okay, because maybe it's not time yet. Granted, if you woke up this morning, it's a great time for therapy.
That's right.
But therapy really only works when you're ready.
Right.
And if you're not ready, you're definitely not going to go seeking it yourself. It's going to be because somebody is pushing you, somebody is bothering you, somebody is saying you really need a therapist too many times. It's like, okay, fine, I'm going to go see this therapist. And then you walk into the therapist's room or office and just be like, they're telling me I need therapy. And then you're going to sit there with your arms folded, like, so do the therapy thing.
Yep.
And I'm going to look at you like, okay. And I'm going to sit back with my arms folded,
with all the walls up,
and I'm going to lay my head back just like this. And say, we're going to share this space together. And you're going to be mad because you'll be paying me to just share space.
Right.
And I'll be all right with it because you're not ready.
Yeah.
But there are, of course, situations where someone else's strong suggestion or pushing and prodding leads you in the right direction. But it still has to be where you've made the decision that you are really ready for it, that you are making the choice.
Yeah.
So if you've been listening to this, we'll say that you're preparing to be ready. If you've been here for these last 12 episodes and you still haven't gone and gotten yourself a therapist, it's because you are preparing for readiness.
That's right.
And hopefully you'll get there.
Yeah. And I hope for those who have been listening to us, talk about these things, that it's at least increasing your level of comfort and knowing that, like, you're not the only one out here who's probably having these thoughts or these worries or these questions, being a human is a complex reality.
It's hard out there for humaning.
Yeah.
Humaning is harder than adulting, and adulting is hard and unpleasant.
Yes.
speaking as an adult, it's hard out there.
Yeah.
But if you have a therapist, you'll have someone to lighten some of that load.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the right therapist, you'll have someone not just to lighten some of the load, but to actually help guide you towards the less hard paths. Or at least walk down the harder paths with you and be like, yo, don't trip over that rock right there. I guess we're going to climb up a mountain today. Oh, okay. Well, we should probably put on these mountain climbing boots.
All right. We should have some water. We should have.
Yeah, we should hydrate.
Some rope.
You know, I find myself in that kind of a position sometimes with some of my clients, where it's just like, oh my God, this is so crazy. And I'm just like, oh, okay. So we're on the roller coaster. Okay. So make sure you put your seatbelt on. We're gonna put this. Oh, okay, cool. So we got the harness on. Cool. Did you eat first? Because I don't want to. I mean, I understand you might toss your cookies, but at least let's make sure that you toss your cookies that way and not this way. So make sure that you're turning that. Okay, great. We're following instructions. We're using our tools. Like I'm gonna be on the roller coaster with you, and I'm not gonna worry about you being on the roller coaster because I've given you the tools to make sure that you can be on the roller coaster safely. I have a client in particular who is or has had several discussions and disagreements with people in their lives based on some of the decisions that they are making. And to a certain extent, before they started making these decisions, I gave them a set of rules. I'm like, listen, my personal rules, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt anybody else. If you choose to do something that hurts yourself or someone else, then make sure you can live with the consequences. And so they did things, but they followed technically, especially that last rule of making sure they could live with the consequences.
Right.
And that's really kind of the rules for all of life, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have to make decisions, and we don't necessarily know where those decisions are going to lead us. I mean, unless we're talking about, I don't know, a bullet to the brain, we kind of have an idea of where that's going.
Right.
Jumping off a cliff, we kind of have an idea of where that's going. But should I take this road or that road? Especially when we're talking about the proverbial life roads, where technically speaking, we don't actually have a roadmap. We have no idea what this decision might actually impact, or what not making the decision might actually impact. And so sometimes we have to make decisions that may hurt someone else or may hurt ourselves in order to make sure that we're on the right path in the first place. But the objective is make sure I can live with the consequences of these decisions.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to play Russian roulette, the likelihood is you're not going to literally live with those consequences, which is why that's the rule. Make sure you can live with the consequences.
Yeah.
If you are going to die at the end of that, that's not a decision you really should be making, because you won't be able to live with the consequences. You'd be dying with the consequences, or dying is the consequence.
Mm-hmm.
That goes against the rule. But that's just how I manage my clients, right? Because I know that some clients, they got to climb the mountain in 99-degree weather. So my job is to be there and say, hey, we should probably hydrate. I'm a hydrate. I have this extra bottle for you. If you don't want to hydrate, that's on you. Okay, you're choosing not to hydrate. Cool. I guess I'm going to stay down here then so I can catch you when you pass out.
Right.
Okay, you passed out. Would you like to hydrate now?
Right.
That's how this works. My thing is not to tell you what to do. And really, that is no therapist's job. Our job is not to tell you what to do or not to give you the instruction manual. Our job is to be there while you are traveling through your journey, hopefully assisting and providing tools to make that journey a little bit less perilous.
Yeah.
That is what your therapist is supposed to be doing. If your therapist is telling you what to do, then that's your mom.
Yeah. JD.
See, full circle moment.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, that's your therapist is not the one to give you the instruction manual. They're supposed to just be helping you read whatever instruction manual you already have is. Maybe reinterpret it for you if it's, like one of those IKEA ones.
Yeah.
Like, this picture looks like a wrench. Here, let me help you with this wrench.
Yes.
Oh, it's not a wrench, it's a screwdriver.
Yeah, I'm noticing some interesting parallels in terms of, like, it's not the therapist's job to do the work, it's your job, and they just provide the tools. I see a lot of that common struggles in coaching and mentoring, and a lot of those things. Like, people walk into situations and expect, like you said, someone to press the magic button. And while we all wish there was a magic button, there really isn't one, and it requires work to, like, really address those problems. And I think that's why, in the age of technology, it also makes certain things simple so that you forget that, like, real progress is made with hard work and effort, and sometimes repeated effort until we learn certain lessons. And if we haven't learned it all the way, then we got to learn it again. And so I think just a lot of it goes back to, your own accountability, your own commitment, motivation, drive, willingness to be a part of the process and to reach that resolution, whatever that it looks like for you, on a personal basis.
And enjoy the ride.
Yes. I think that's something we forget to do too.
Enjoy the ride. It's one of those things that we are not often even, I guess, led to believe is a thing that we're allowed to do. But even in those crazy, scary moments, I like to remind people, horror films are a thing. Haunted houses, not of the actual literal thing, but those things that they put up especially during Halloween and such, those are a thing. Because being afraid or being in positions to be scared is a thing that is, to a certain extent, for human beings, enjoyable. Going through life and playing Russian roulette can be a part of your enjoyment, although I really don't suggest it. But it can be a part of your enjoyment. Don't go out there playing Russian roulette because Shae said you're supposed to enjoy.
Right.
Great. Don't do that, because that is not what Shae said. I'm saying that being afraid, doing the scary thing, taking chances, being unpredictable, these are things that are good and necessary elements of life. If you are, and human beings are going to be mad I'm going to say this, but that's what I'm here for. So if you are supposedly in a committed relationship and feeling doubts about your committed relationship, and you've decided to step outside of your committed relationship just to see if you're really committed, you know what? Do that. As long as you can live with the consequences of your actions.
Right.
Because you might not actually know. You might spend the rest of your life doubting this relationship. And the life in doubt or regret is not a life well lived. Now, if the reason why you're not sure about the relationship is because you actually haven't even bothered having the conversation with your significant other about you're questioning the relationship, perhaps you should start there. And if you're not ready to start there, get you a therapist. Talk about your feelings with your therapist. Help get your therapist to help you have that conversation with your significant other so that you can make a wise decision that doesn't involve hurting yourself or hurting someone else. See how that works? You have conversations that you can prepare for different parts of life that might do things, and therefore you can then make an educated decision about how to move forward that maybe doesn't result in, a divorce or your spouse losing their mind and shooting you and the dog. Don't shoot the dog. The dog didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Because Shae loves animals. But it's a reality of life out there that you don't want to fail yourself for fear of failing. And if that is something that you're afraid of, perhaps taking this episode and going and talking to some people and doing some research and finding a therapist and interviewing a therapist and then having the conversation so that you can make it, that might be why you're here today. Just say it. You're here for a reason. But, if you woke up this morning, fill in the blank. Because I'm biased like that.
That's right.
It's and there's so many different ways to do it. If you are a not in-person kind of person, find a therapist who does remote stuff. There are so many different options nowadays. If you are a person who only wants to meet in person, find that, because that's there. If you are a person who specifically only wants to talk to a middle-aged male with freckles, you can literally go on psychology.com and actually search for exactly what you're looking for, and they have pictures. You can shop for therapists the same way you would, I don't know, like a car. You want a red one that, has only been used for this many years? Type that into psychology.com. If you want female therapist who has had 6 years of training and is faith-based or not, and specializes in addiction counseling, literally type that into Google and your zip code, and you will get an entire list of different people who fit that, or organizations that can provide what you're looking for, with phone numbers.
Yes. Help is available for sure.
Phone numbers, price points, the list of insurances that they take, everything would be right there on the psychology.com webpage. And it's free, by the way.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I didn't know about that. Cool.
And it's not just psychologists and psychiatrists. They also do, life coaching and whatever kind of mental health practitioner you're looking for. They have them listed on psychology.com.
Nice. That's awesome. Alrighty. Let's see. Do we have any more questions from our audience who's listening in about therapy in general, about something that you've wondered about looking for a therapist, anything that we can help you guys with in this particular area? since we are, celebrating a year, we've talked about so many different topics, and I'll just highlight some of them. We've talked about depression, grief, that pesky imposter syndrome, addiction and coping, narcissism 2 times. We did 2 rounds of that because that's a very nuanced topic. Hyper independence, having healthy conversations, the speed of trust, and of course, tonight's topic, shopping for the right therapist. It's funny because I was talking with Dana earlier today. I was like, sis, remind me the background context for the show. I can't remember how we had it written up. And I was like, what is the background context again? And she was like, oh, yeah, you remember Shae was talking about like how to choose a therapist. I said, oh, the way I was thinking about it in my mind is like retail therapy, like shopping as retail therapy. I was like, okay, I'm back on track. I've been away too long. Like, where are we going shopping today? Y'all.
As one who has had a client who actually had an addiction to shopping, I do not necessarily encourage retail therapy as much anymore because it is like a gateway drug. So
yeah, it can land you in other types of problems.
Yeah, all kinds of problems. Also, divorce. By the way, divorce and yeah, I've had a client whose addiction was buying newspapers because they just had to know, and they wouldn't throw them out.
JB,
actually, we shut up. But you can at least get your psychiatric medication on Amazon already.
Right.
Yeah, Amazon has that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. Amazon be doing all kinds of things.
You can buy a whole house on Amazon. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Amazon has actual like real estate listings. Now, at some point, I feel like, how are you going to deliver that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know how that works, but I've seen it. Yeah, I was confused. You can also do cars and stuff, but yeah, I've seen a listing for a house.
I mean, I could see how they could have connections with like the things that you put into the house, like being able to design your own home, like, like they have their Amazon influencers and they have all the things in the house and, you can choose what you want, like kind of thing. But the entire house?
I think I'm imagining because I saw it come up in the thing and then I just kept scrolling because I was looking for something specific. But I feel like it may have been one of those tiny houses.
Oh, okay. I guess that would make sense.
Like, you know how, for those who don't know what a tiny house is, I don't mean like a figurine house. I mean, it's
like a container
usually
home.
Like an actual house, but it's small, about the size of like a room, let's say, where everything, it's a studio house instead of a studio apartment, basically.
Standalone.
It's just tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I imagine that might have been what that is.
Maybe. Yeah, I do like the idea of the container homes. I've seen some really fancy things that they've made out of containers. It's pretty awesome. So I can buy an entire house, but they're telling me they're out of Clorox wipes. Yes. It's called supply and demand, JD.
Yep. Very few people, I guess, are looking for houses on Amazon. But the Clorox wipes, man.
Yes. Must have your wipes. I really could have used
some
wipes.
Also, monkeypox is a thing.
Yes.
And be careful out there with what you're touching. Wash your hands and be clean.
Yes.
In case you're not afraid, like I am afraid of monkeypox, one of the side effects of monkeypox is extreme, what did the doctor call it? Extreme rectal discomfort.
Oh my. Yeah, no, thank you. Then you really need some Clorox wipes. I could have used some on the flight back. I had left them at my mom's house. I was like, dang it, I need my wipes.
Yeah, I travel with Lysol.
Yes, I was just like,
we're out here advertising for Clorox Lysol. Listen,
some kind of cleaning wipes. I don't care what the brand
whatever it
is.
is, whether it's a wipe or a spray or something. Monkeypox. Serious. Yeah. Extreme rectal discomfort.
Yeah, I'll pass on all of that. Yes. Alrighty. Well, once again, we have come up to the 8 o'clock hour in like record time. It always goes by so quickly because we have such entertaining conversations here on the show. Thank you, JD, for always, putting in your comic relief.
Always trying to catch me off guard.
Exactly, JD. That's what I was saying. Rectal discomfort, yes. You're going to need some Clorox wipes. Mm-hmm.
Fix it with Clorox.
I wouldn't recommend applying it directly to the skin. I would.
Because then you'll have extreme rectal irritation.
Yes. Which will last for much longer. Yes. JD.
Thanks, JD.
Yes.
You keep it interesting.
We just never know where we're going to end our show. It just really depends on what's going to be happening in the comments and in the texts. But yes, I really do want to once again celebrate the fact that we have made it an entire year here on the Moana Nui podcast and our special Rain Talk show. We are looking forward to continuing this. For those who are listening and do you have people that need therapy or want to just hear our discussions, please share it with them. As always, we also welcome topics. Like if there are things that you guys want to explore a little bit more, delve deeper into, even if it's a topic that we've already talked about, each of the topics that we've covered, like I feel like you can only scratch the surface in an hour. But if there are more particular parts of it that you want us to include in a future show, please let us know in the comments, and you can always send us an email at moananuipodcast@gmail.com. We do want to keep the show valuable, enlightening, and relevant for the things that are happening in our communities, and to help you all be more productive and safe and healthy human beings. Let's see.
I feel like I should also mention, just for the sake of, if you want us, or if you have a subject that you want us to talk about, 95% of what I say is completely unrehearsed and off the cuff. And so you will pretty much never hear me say the same thing in the same way twice.
It's true.
So,
yeah. Other than if you have woken up today.
You woke up today.
It's a good time.
Great day for therapy.
Yeah.
That, and of course, make sure that your 50% of every interaction is a positive.
That one.
But
I feel like those two things can never be oversaid.
Yes, but other than that, when it comes to actually talking about the topics, it comes off the top of my head. And then if you were to be like, say that over again, I'm just like, what did I say?
Right.
I forgot what I said already.
Maybe in the future we could pick some kind of movie and talk about mental health aspects within the movie.
Oh, I would love that. Listen, there are some shows that I specifically watch just because these people are insane and they are the personification of this diagnosis or that diagnosis.
Right. Yeah, maybe that could be, we can talk about that and figure it out. Alrighty. Sounds good. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Shae, for once again being with us. Shout out to Dana, who is in the comments, and she is representing the podcast, Moana Nui Podcast, at the Urban Nerd Expo. Hopefully I got that right. I know it's a 3-word thing. Correct me, sis, if you're still there. In Alabama this weekend. So if you are in that market, go on, head down to that con. I think it's a new one because I haven't heard it before. In Mobile, Alabama, I believe. And so Dana and a couple other folks are representing for the podcast. Of course, she will be in cosplay. Go out and support these cons. Be safe. Bring your Clorox wipes. Bring your mask because they're probably still upholding that mandate. And just be, mindful of the people around you, but have fun. Have fun. Mental health. Having fun is a big part of that. Let's see. Or the movies that we look at the therapist. Oh, okay. Urban Nerd Con. Okay, see, I knew I wasn't that far off. JD, I keep forgetting people live in Alabama. Go Bama, Roll Tide. Yes. So
Sports references.
So much. I just feel like mental health can be applied in so many different ways. Montgomery, Alabama.
I saw on psychology.com, I saw a therapist who specifically does their practice through D&D.
Oh.
Yeah. I was like, yes, nerd life.
Right.
Yes. Also, I have provided therapy while playing a couple different games, one of which for some reason I can't remember the name of, and Fortnite, because I was being punished for something I didn't in a past life.
Yes.
No offense to all y'all out there who actually enjoy Fortnite. It's just not for me. It was punishment. I tried, though.
Yes, but you got to go where the peeps are, some people won't come to a podcast to listen, right? But they'll damn sure go play a game, though. So.
Yep.
That's awesome. Alrighty. Well, to Dana and folks, stay safe. Enjoy the show. Guys, come back and join us at 8:30 p.m. in about a half an hour. I'm gonna be on with Greg Burnham to talk about his new Kickstarter, his children's book, Swim Kelly Swim, which has some very interesting historical context. In addition to it being a fun story, but I'm going to be talking about some statistics and why we find that so many Black people do not swim, and why that is, and how we can overcome those myths, I will say. And we'll also be talking about the state of children's book and the accessibility for BIPOC stories. I was doing some research on statistics in terms of representation and just how much percentage of books published each year address BIPOC children. Newsflash, not newsflash. It's not a whole lot. So we'll be talking about that too, and discussing a couple children's book authors that I have discovered and really enjoyed their stories. Getting massage while talking out. Oh, massage. I like it. Massage therapy. Okay, I'm down with that. I was told the reason is the movie Jaws.
That's why not because of the idea. I was laughing at his response to why Black people don't swim. That cracked me up.
Yes. Jaws get a bad rap too. Sharks get a bad rap too. I'm gonna just put that out there.
Sharks do not like how humans taste. That's why most of the time all they do is take the one bite.
That's right. And they're like, ooh, get out of here. But yeah, so come back at 8:30. It's going to be a fun discussion. I'm looking forward to it. Greg and I always have great conversations, and we're going to have another children's author, Kezia, joining us to talk about her book, which is Close and Away. And I'll say the story had me in tears, and it caught me by surprise because the title does not give away the content. So come and join us for that conversation at 8:30 p.m. With that said, be sure to follow Rain on her social media, Rain O Change, on all the platforms. And if you have not yet followed or shared our podcast, please do that now. Click share, click like. You can find the Moana Nui Podcast.
And comment.
That's right, comment. You can find us on YouTube, Twitch, of course, Facebook, and then on all of podcast platforms. Your favorite one, pick it, and we should be there. But thank you guys for tuning in, for being a part of our community. And Dana says, Jaws is the reason for me. Jaws scared my mom, and she never would let me in the water, ocean, or lake after that. Yes.
And also, I just want to say punctuation is really important, because that statement, "I taste delicious, Shae," could be taken several different ways depending on where you put the comma. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Punctuation.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys next time. Take care and have a good one.
So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will.
If this the land of the free, it was a freedom then. When they annexed Hawaii and called it cedar lands, without any type of payment and no signing off. Called themselves the Republic in 1894. 1.2 million acres overtaken from the native Hawaiians. When they resisted, the West retaliated in violence and erasure. The Hawaiian language is banned as part of colonialism's plan to expand, yeah.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe. As a part of their ongoing war with Asia, used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.
So if we put Hawaii into perspective, well, Black and Asian history is interconnected. Considering the fight with the Pacific, then of course, versus Asia, they was treated as a middleman for war, but didn't let the Western colorism run its course, cause dark skin was a sign of dignity to core. The land was taken in the name of capitalism, when prior to it was an actual kingdom. Clap back at the system.
Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Multiple bombings of Kaho'olawe. As a part of their ongoing war with Asia, used it as a place for target practice. No consent or compensation. Colonizers call for annexation. No work out for all the locals. School will never let you know. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. So many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. Too many stories left to tell, even if we have to ourselves. Can keep history on the shelf. If we won't tell it, we will. We will.